evening, everyone. Distinguished guests, respected lecturers, and valued industry partners, a warm welcome to InsightX 2026. Today, this forum will begin with a conversation about the realities of the modern corporate world, a world where digital transformation is no longer a future expectation, but rather a present reality. Artificial intelligence is redefining workflows and automation. Data analytics is driving database insights, and cyber risk are strengthening the need for more compliance and digital resilience. While finance is no longer just transaction based, it's about control, insights, compliance, value, and strategy. And that is why InsightX 2026 this year becomes more relevant and more meaningful. This serves as a platform where academic learning and industry realities comes together. As the moderator of today's session, I'm truly honored and privileged to guide this forum in presence of such a distinguished audience. So without taking further of time, let me introduce the panelists for tonight. On my left-hand side, I have Mr. Navid Sena Ratna, SAP Functional Consultant at Intellect Consulting. Next, Ms. Rashmi Sanchetana, Application Support Consultant at Acumatica. Ms. Shiomi Fernando, Technology Consultant at EY Sri Lanka. And last but not the least, Mr. Chamuda Vijay Managing Director at Capital Care Consultants. Thank you all for joining with me today. So let us begin this conversation with the strongest foundation of modern decision making, which is data and information. Chamuda, I'm going to start this conversation with you. You know, data and information for a business, it's so relevant and so important. Important to identify why this information matters, what sort of impact inside this information can give, and how to act on it. That is when the entire topic of data analytics and visualization comes into play, I would say. So based on that, Chamuda, there's a misconception when it comes to data analytics and visualization, that it is all about making the charts look more attractive. I mean, specific to the visualization part. But what is your opinion? What role does data analytics and visualization plays in the corporate sector?
Yes, that's a good question, Aditya. Analytics and visualization aren't about making charts look attractive. They are about uncovering hidden meanings within the raw information. Let me take you through a practical example. As you can see in the sales graph, given the case of a retail company, a manager kept staring at graph where the convinced demand was the problem. But by adapting data visualization and analytics, a deeper analysis, which is shown by the above dashboard, revealed the hidden story where customers were leaving because deliveries in one region were consistently slow. Once logistics were fixed, profits rebounded. That's the power of analytics. It doesn't just show numbers. It tells the story that drives actions.
Great, Chamud. I think within the glance, you can see how much of insights you can take from that dashboard you just showed right now. Also, Chamuda, when it comes to traditional approaches, the reports are often focused on the accuracy. But by adapting data analytics and visualization, it goes way beyond that and help to make more effective decision making, right?
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Traditional methods build based with records and compliance, but business analysts add systems and analytical thinking to turn data into valuable insights. Instead of saying, here is the report, we say, here is the trend, here is the issue, and here is what management should notice. Think of a manager with 20-page sales report versus a dashboard which summarizes the key issue in seconds. Which one is more useful?
I think, Shamuda, that's a very practical example on this entire differentiation of that. Also, if you take raw data, maybe be Excel, Power BI or dashboard, I don't think it itself creates value. Now, that is when the role of business analyst comes into play. I'm going to ask you this question. How do you justify the role of business analyst in the corporate sector when interpreting these insights to make decisions?
Yeah, in practice, raw data is never enough. Whether it's Excel, Power BI, dashboard, or system reports. The real value comes when we identify patterns, summarize findings, and present them clearly. A business analyst has the confidence to interpret data in a business context, just like a health app that turns numbers into trends and alerts. And insights only matter if they are communicated well, which is where soft skills are crucial. Even the best Power BI dashboard is useless if people can't understand or act on it.
Yeah, Chamudra. So I think, is it fair for me to say that business analysts are not just users of data, but rather the creators of data insights?
Exactly. I believe that a business analyst is someone who turns data into decisions. Decisions where AI can enhance, soft skills can communicate, and governance can protect.
Very well said there, Chamudra. I think that bit was a very insightful discussion on how the data analytics and visualization, adapting it, how can organizations take effective decisions. But also in the organizations, when you take a report, right now, I don't think organization does not need to know what this report means. It goes beyond that. It wants to understand what can this report help us predict and what can be automated. I think now that is where the interesting topic, artificial intelligence, comes to the table. Navid, I'm going to turn to your side to have this conversation about artificial intelligence. So recently, I was just scrolling through the internet, and I saw this article published by BBC News. It says that the four tech giants, Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft, are subjected to post $650 billion into AI investment in the 2026 year alone. That is a huge investment. And I think that itself is a fact to say how organizations are keen on AI capabilities. So I'm going to ask you this: what sort of overall impact does AI have on our our corporate sector?
Yes, Aditya, really good question. Indeed, organizations are keen in this new technology. So based on my experience, what I see is that these corporates, they have the ability to increase their productivity and reduce their human errors. I think this is a main reason as to why these companies are investing this much of capital in this domain. So organizations are seeking to increase their productivity. I think this is a great place to invest in.
Very well said there, Navid. I think with what you said, productivity comes opportunities. So do you have any practical example maybe to illustrate us how AI is creating new opportunities for businesses?
Yes, Aditya, I indeed do have one ready here. So has anyone heard about SAP ERP before or used it? I assume that most of you all might have heard it. So does anyone have experience posting accrued expenses when the vendors or the suppliers haven't sent their invoices yet? So in this instance, we will have to reliably estimate this accrued expense, which is going to cost you a lot of time and effort. What if I say that there is an easier way to get this done? Let me introduce you to Joule, SAP's Agentic AI Copilot.
Welcome to a quick feature demo of Joule Agents, with a focus on the Accounting Accruals Agent. You'll see how the agent helps finance teams calculate, review, and post accruals, reducing manual effort and supporting a faster, more reliable close. What if finance teams could complete accruals faster without relying on manual calculations and spreadsheets? The Accounting Accruals Agent reasons and acts by using historical data and accounting policies to prepare accrual proposals automatically, while users retain full control over the final postings. The user simply uploads the accounting policy handbook into the Accounting Accruals Agent. The agent reasons over the policy and historical data, extracts the relevant accrual types, and identifies all pending accruals for the current period. The agent automatically acts to calculate estimated amounts and creates accrual proposals, complete with posting and reversal details. Once the proposals are ready, the agent notifies the user. The user opens a proposal, reviews the AI recommendation and supporting details, and posts the accrual to the ledger. The proposal status updates from open to posted. With the Accounting Accruals Agent, finance teams can prepare period-end posting more efficiently, reduce accrual calculation time by up to 80%, and provide all necessary information to cut review and posting time by up to 50%. The agent prepares accrual proposals and supports confident decisions, so teams close the books faster while maintaining transparency, consistency, and control.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as you saw, SAP Joule was able to analyze the accounting policy document and the past historical data in order to come up with a reliable estimate of this accrued expense, saving you a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, and I think that was a great detailed explanation there on the entire video part. But also, when you were talking about introducing the SAP Joule, you mentioned about the term agentic AI. But also, there's another term which is generative AI, I think, which we all, for our day-to-day activities, which we use. Just a curious question there. What is the difference between agentic AI and generative AI?
It's a keen observation there, Aditya. Yes, so I think we are already familiar with this generative AI concept. I mean, ChatGPT, Gemini, these are prime examples of generative AI models. And yeah, going to your question, when it comes to generative AI, it is limited to its content generation capability, like text and images. So when it comes to agentic AI, it has the ability to reason, think, act with minimal human intervention. So let me further illustrate this with the following diagram. So if a user was to prompt a generative AI model, what is the price of an Emirates flight from New York to Delhi tomorrow? It is most likely to spit out a response saying that it is limited to the knowledge it is trained on. Moving on to agentic AI, if a user was to prompt, before prompting, enter the visa details and prompt to book a flight for a 7-day trip to New Delhi in May, the weather should be sunny all days, budget below $1,600, and no layovers. So in this instance, the agentic AI tries to connect with APIs of the weather data providers and the ticketing airline ticketing service providers, and tries to go through with the booking. But before going through the booking, it reasons out and finds out that the visa details the user entered has expired and suggests that the user renews his visa before he travels. So in a nutshell, Aditya, so what I believe is, when it comes to generative AI, it is totally limited to this content generation capability. But when you come to agentic AI, it has the ability to do tasks on behalf of you, just like a real agent.
Great explanation there, Anayat. I think that comparison did it for us. So, diverting a bit from the general topic, I want to ask you a question, which is a burning question actually, which was, so with the entry of AI to the market, particularly the job market, there was a fear in the young crowd, what would happen to my career? So just a general question to take your opinion, what sort of overall impact does AI have on the job market?
Yes, this is a burning question that I had personally. I think many of you all might also have had it. So based on my experience and what I believe is that rather than fearing AI, replacing jobs, try to embrace it with a positive mindset. Try to incorporate it into your day-to-day workflows to make yourself, more productive. Why I am saying this is that even AI is still not 100% perfect. I mean, like AI, it still needs the human touch. AI, we need to, the humans need to, guide the AI and, review what the AI suggests. So in a nutshell, so rather than, taking it as a threat, I would invite everyone to, embrace AI as an opportunity to, improve your productivity. Yeah.
I think that's a great point to end on. I think we as professionals as well, we should know about how to interact more with the AI tools itself. Also, one key point to take and start my next conversation, it is that no matter what technology comes and goes, humans will still be at center. Now that brings me to our next conversation with Rashmi on soft skills. Rashmi, technical knowledge and system proficiency are these two key factors which we consider as key factors for the industry success. But that is, when you just see it, it is just one part of the equation. What other wider competencies should professionals develop in order to create that impact within their career, within the industry?
That is very important point you mentioned, Aditya. So technical knowledge basically is undeniably important when it comes to modern business environment, as it is mainly driven by AI, automation, ERP systems, and so on. So, however, technical knowledge is alone not just enough to create a meaningful and lasting impact. From my perspective, professionals need to go beyond just understanding the systems and tools. They need to incorporate their essential soft skills, such as clear communication, critical thinking, adaptability, teamwork, and understanding the business context. This is especially important in corporate sector as we as professionals we have to work or deal with different sets of people. Uh, This may be, for example, finance team, technical teams, business users, even managers and end users. So each of these groups approach the same issue from different perspectives. They have their own priorities, they have their own expertise and even objectives. Therefore, we need, as professionals, we need to be able to translate and simplify these complex information into that suit our audience. I will give you one example here. Think of a situation when we are dealing with a technical issue or even a process gap. That may be a reporting issue as well. So identifying the problem is just one step. What brings the value here is in explaining how this issue happens, why it matters, and what are the corrective actions that can be taken to correct it. As my colleague Navid mentioned earlier, while technology is highlight the issue, it is indeed the human touch that brings the meaningful impact to it. So as a result, we as professionals need to we should not focus only on building the technical capabilities. We also need to build our creative thinking ability, clear communication, and sound judgment.
Yeah, Rashmi, thank you for that input on how, with the practical example, that is a very practical scenario that we all encounter. But also want to refer from what you said. You highlighted that soft skill places professionals in multiple worlds. So, in a digital-driven world, how to use the human skills to bridge that gap between technology-produced outputs and the practical-based values?
I will point it out this way. Think when we are using AI in business context, the ability to the quality of the output depends on how well we guide it. This is where the concept called prompt engineering becomes important. A vague instruction may give a general answer, but a clear, structured prompt with right context helps the AI to produce more reliable and accurate output. Similarly, when we work with data reports, visual reports, dashboards, data visualization is not just enough. This is where storytelling becomes matter. That a chart may show us a drop in sales or even a change in cost. So, but storytelling helps explain what happened here, what actually happened here, and how we need, as managers or professionals, how we need to deal with the situation. So, lastly, to conclude my point here, so I believe soft skills help professionals to bridge the gap between technology-generated reports or technology-generated outputs and practical business values. AI gives us speed, visualization gives us clarity, but it is indeed the human touch or human judgment and communication that brings the value, direction, and impact.
Very well said there, Rashmi. I think I agree every part what you said there. Also, when we talk about a digital-driven workspace, another key aspect that we all should look is responsibility. Because we as professionals in our day-to-day life, we work with systems, data, digital processes than ever. So we should ensure the technology we should use them in the right way, ethically, securely, and in line with the business goals. So lastly, I'm moving into this conversation about IT governance. Show me, what is IT governance in brief, and why is it so relevant to our country right now?
Yes, Aditya. If I explain it simply, IT governance is something about make sure the technology used in the right way for the right purpose with the right controls. As we all know, today organizations are heavily depending on system to retrieve the data for the financial reporting or even for the decision making. But if those systems are not properly governed, it can create many problems. For example, it could be a security issue or confidentiality issue or even compliance failure. So, IT governance ensure the technology is secure, reliable, and aligned with the business practice.
Great, Shiomi. Just following that up, I want to ask again on IT governance because there's a misconception. These entire IT governance policies and rules are kind of the responsibility limited only to the IT department, which I believe it is not, because as professionals, we have a responsibility to make sure the technology we work with are secured, right?
Exactly. IT governance, it's not just the responsibility of IT departments. It's something every business professional should understand and aware of that. This is because systems are directly supports business operation and financial decision making. If they are not aware of that, it can lead to data error, system misuse, or even fraud. So, both IT and business professionals work together to ensure the system is reliable and secure.
Great, Shiomi. Also, before ending, just want to ask you, do you have any practical scenarios from your experience that you would want to share with the audience on how this entire IT governance with rules and policies work?
Definitely, Aditya. Recently, I came across an ITGC case where the mail server is constantly being targeted by external attackers. This is because the system had weak controls, such as outdated software, no firewall, no encryption, no proper monitoring, which could lead to the high risk of unauthorized access and misuse, which could impact the business operation, reputation, or even the trust. So in my point of view, from my experience, what I'm saying is merely having the rules and policies in place, it's not gonna work. We want to ensure our system is properly designed and controlled to support our business operation.
Great, Shomati. That is a very strong point to conclude with, showing that even giving that practical example for us here, it makes us also more aware on issues like this. So now that we are at the latter part of our forum, our panelists tonight presented their insights and opinions on various expertise fields. Chamuda, from your end, you covered on how data analytics and visualization brings that X factor to the business in analytics terms, and also highlighted the role of business analyst, which is obviously an important role. And then, now with you, I had this discussion of AI, how AI is creating these entire new opportunities, and you showed us some great examples. Rashmi, moving from Navid's point, which she highlighted, humans are still at center. Talked about soft skills, you gave us some good tips there. And Shumi, finally, concluding with you on IT governance, which you gave a great description. So tonight, this is our forum. One last thing to highlight before we end is that we as accounting information system graduates are able to stand in these corporate spaces because of our early industry exposure given to us by our internship program embedded in our degree. That is the value of an AIS degree. And that is the value of an AIS graduate. We do not just understand the language of business. We translate through it, and we make sure it has an organizational impact and we can create it. With that, I would also like to sincerely thank our panelists for joining us today, our dear industry partners, valued lecturers, and everyone who joined us today. Thank you so much, and we hope you have a wonderful evening.